Finding the penetration curve between two prisms, where the secondary pipe penetrates at a 90-degree angle. Step 1. Number the corners of your secondary pipe. Transfer this numbering to where each side line ends. These are your termination points, where these lines terminate or end. Project each of your termination points from your top view into your front view. Where these lines intersect with the lines that have the same numbers in your top view, you will then get your termination points. Make sure that you now label each of these termination points. For this drawing, make sure that you have two auxiliary views, one in your front view and one in your top view. This auxiliary view is a view of your secondary pipe. Make sure that you number it correctly. Now for your turning points. The turning points are the corners in your top view that the secondary pipe has to bend around to fit the shape of the main pipe. Label these in the top view. Now that you have labeled these, remember that some of the corners have corners below them that you cannot see. This is why I have an AB at one corner and a CD at the other. There's both one point at the top of my drawing and one below it, for both the points AB and CD. For the next step, project the turning points from the top view onto the auxiliary view you have drawn in your top view. Wherever these projection lines intersect the lines of the auxiliary view, they create turning points. Mark and label these turning points according to the labels you originally used for them. Now you need to transfer these points onto the auxiliary view in your front view. Remember that these points need to be measured and then transferred from one auxiliary view to the other. They cannot be projected straight up. Now project these points onto your front view. Where they contact the line that they are found on, as shown in your top view, mark them off. Now you can see that I've not only marked them off, but I've also made sure that the corresponding labels have been placed in as well. I've also marked off each of my termination points, because now I am ready to go and draw in the penetration curve. When drawing in your penetration curve, you are first of all going to draw the lines in construction. Only once your construction lines have been drawn in will we then decide which lines are meant to be hidden detail and which ones are meant to be dark. Let's start with the construction. We now have to carefully follow the numbering in the auxiliary view. Preferably use the one in your front view. It will be easier to follow. Starting at point 1, we can see that point 1 needs to be joined up to point 4. But in this case, point 1 first goes through turning point A. So we're first going to go and draw a line from point 1 through to point A. Then point A gets joined to point 4. Point 4 then needs to be joined to point 3, but it also goes through a turning point B. Therefore, we will first of all go and draw a line from point 4 through to turning point B. Then from turning point B to point 3. Now point 3 has to be joined to point 2, but it also passes through turning point D. So we're first going to draw a line from point 3 to turning point D, and then from turning point D to point 2. Point 2 then has to be joined up back to point 1, but again, this line first passes through turning point C. So we're first going to draw a line from point 2 to turning point C, then from turning point C through to the last point back to point 1. Now we've completed the penetration curve. The next step is to go and take this curve and decide which of the lines are meant to be hidden detail lines and which are meant to be dark lines. You will now see that I've added point E to the top view. Any points behind point E and AB in the top view will now be hidden detail. At the moment there is only one point behind, and that is point 4. That means that only lines behind point AB through to point 4 are going to have to be hidden detail. This means that line A to 4 and line B to 4 will become hidden detail. Everything else will remain dark lines. All that's left now is to remove the line between turning point A and B, which you see I've already done, as this is taken out when the secondary pipe hits into your main pipe. Then you'll see that the point between these two turning points and the little circle which I've added in, which is purple, those two little lines have to also be a hidden detail, as they fall behind the lines from the secondary pipe, which are marked 1, 1 and 3, 3. Now that I've turned off all my construction lines, you can now see what the finished drawing should look like. Please also note that I've also removed the line between turning point C and D, as this line will also have to come out, as it's a part that is removed when the secondary pipe again hits into the main pipe, the same as the line between point A and point B. If this is what your answer looks like, then well done.